Jeffrey Paul Ross coming to you from nextlevelguitar.com. Today I think we'd start out with doing some pedal steel type licks. And I got into this style of guitar playing back in the early 70s. I tried to learn to play the pedal steel guitar and it was just beyond me. So at first I decided I would try to do it with the B-bender and the palm pedals, and I'm just not mechanically inclined. So I eventually decided I'm just going to use my fingers and learn all those bends and licks with just my fingers, and then using the Bigsby vibrato to mimic the vibrato that you would get by moving the bar on a pedal steel back and forth. And then I also use a volume pedal like a pedal steel player would use. And so I can get the slow, kind of whiny Nashville kind of. To do this style, what you are doing, you are anchoring two notes, maybe more, and then bending a third note within the chord. And I think we'll start out in the key of C, because that kind of gives you room on the neck to go either way. And do some of the basic ones. What we'll work on first is this little C major triad. And what we're going to do, instead of fretting that note, we are going to bend up a whole step on the G string from the 7th fret. And we're going to do that while anchoring the B and the E string, the 2nd and 1st string, on the 8th fret. And so it should sound something like this. You see, once again, it's that little C triad. And you can get cute with it. You can do like the false harmonic pluck, like, you know, at the octave fret. You're plucking the string with your thumb back here by the pickup while you're placing your first finger right on top. You don't place it on the fret space, you place it on the fret, the actual fret bar itself. And you don't actually fret the string. You just kind of put it on top, and then you pick behind it. It's 12 frets above. It's the octave fret. You know, you do that in relationship to whatever you're playing down here. To mimic the sound of a pedal steel guitar, you're basically making chords and then moving notes around inside the chord. And another pedal steel lick that you can use, also in the key of C. Okay, we did this one. Now we're gonna do this one. And this is okay. We have the G note on the 10th fret on the 5th string, which is the A string. Then right under, and that's with our 3rd finger. Then right underneath it, we have the C note, once again on the 10th fret, on the D string, the 4th string. Now the note that we're going to be bending is this E note. The actual note itself is on the 9th fret, but we're going to go down, back down to the 7th fret, and we're going to pull down, and that's going to move the note up a whole step. So we're going to, this is a D note on the G string on the 7th fret. And it helps to use light strings, which I don't have here because I've been playing a lot of blues and swingy stuff on this guitar. I'd like to talk about that for a second. Especially if you've never done this, you're going to have to develop some muscle coordination here. And I would recommend using a 16 gauge on your G string. I don't think you want to go any lighter because it won't stay in tune and there's not enough meat on the string to sound good. This is probably an 18, and I would prefer to use a 16. So, once again, here's this little triad, and we're going to go down to, once again, the D note on the 7th fret on the G string, which is the 3rd string, and we're going to pull down. And you're basically, you're accomplishing this with a bend. So you're anchoring these two notes and then bending the G string. So we have this one and this one. Now there's variations that you can do on that, like in a country song where you're starting on the C and you use a C7 to put you into the F chord. You can do stuff like and what you do there is now you drop down with your 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the A string, which is an E note. Then with your little finger underneath it and 1 fret out in front, so you are on the 8th fret on the D string, the 4th string, on the B flat note, and it's the same mechanism. Now you put your 1st finger down here on the G string on the 5th fret, it's a C note, and you're going to pull down. You don't pull up, you pull down. And once again, you're going to accomplish this. You'll be sliding up from a C note to a D note. And it kind of creates a C9 chord. Now also what you can do with this one, when you go down, you can kind of pinch that G string. You can kind of pinch it into the B string. It's an E note on the B string on the 5th fret, and you kind of pull them together. And what it does, while you're pulling this one up a whole fret, or a whole step actually, I'm sorry, you'll be grabbing this one and pulling it, but it only goes up a half step. So it creates a sound like, but it's done with a bend. And you're going to do that while you're anchoring these two notes. And once again, that's your 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the A or 5th string on the E note. And then your little finger is on the 4th string or the D string on the 8th fret on a B flat note. And then you're pulling on the 3rd string, the G string, with your 1st finger. You're pulling that up. And you're pinching it into the B string, pulling them both of them down. Let them go back up. So, and you can do that as a transition from going from a C to a C7 into the 4 chord or the F chord. What I would recommend doing is finding some old country albums from the early 60s where the pedal steel was a little bit simpler, and the guys were playing simpler patterns that are more easily adaptable to guitar. 2 or 3 guys that come to mind would be Ralph Mooney, the Bakersfield guy that played with Buck Owens and a bunch of people like that. Also Pete Drake. He was the top steel player in Nashville from the late 50s through the 60s. Very simple player. guy named Buddy Merrill that played guitar and steel guitar on the Lawrence Welk Show, put out a couple of steel guitar instrumental albums where he basically played the melody. I mean, you can get into guys like Buddy Emmons, who are absolutely the greatest, but the stuff that Buddy Emmons plays is a little bit difficult to transfer to guitar. The first pedal steel licks I learned were the Jerry Garcia's pedal steel licks on the Crosby, Stills and Nash song, Teach Your Children. And, you know, he was a very simple pedal steel player. It wasn't his forte. You know, he was mostly a guitar player, Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. And he kind of played in a Ralph Mooney style, and it was very easy to transfer the steel licks to guitar. And you can listen to all the B-Bender guys like Clarence White and Bobby Warford that played with Linda Ronstadt, Phil Baugh. Yeah, the list goes on. Now you can practice these licks, learn them in C, and then, you know, move them around. You know, try doing the same thing, you know, in A or, you know, up in D. Now usually for country, they didn't stray too far into, you know, sharp and flat chords, mostly G, C, A, D, E. So find those patterns in all those keys. And while you're at it, please visit the website, nextlevelguitars.com. There's over 850 different types of guitar lessons. And I'll see you soon.